Hi, I'm Jimmy. In this video, we're looking at Shopify, ticker symbol SHOP. So in this video, we're going to run through the basics of Shopify's business. We're going to run through some of the numbers and then try to come up with a fair value for Shopify stock to see if it's worth investing in today. Now, the goal of these stock analysis videos is to try to identify companies that are strong companies and ideally companies that are trading at a good price. So over on the Investors Grow website, we actually have these numbers down here that give us a star system. So 3 stars is the best. Do they have a strong income statement, strong cash flow statement, and ideally they have a strong balance sheet as of the most recent data? Well, you can see with Shopify, it's looking fairly good. So just want to point out, we're off to a decent start, but we're going to look a little closer at the numbers in a minute to see how we came up with those numbers. For now, we're going to jump in and look a bit at the different segments. So what Shopify does is it's essentially a platform to allow for businesses to create stores, essentially, right? They can create online stores and they take a piece of, they either take a piece of the revenue that store generates as their fee, or they have a subscription fee. Well, when we look specifically at their merchant solutions business, well, this is their largest segment by far. And ultimately, this is the one that takes a piece of their gross merchandise volume. So how much money are all the stores selling on their platform? How much, products are they selling for how much money? And then Shopify takes a small piece of that. The more money that they sell, the more products that those companies sell, the more money that Shopify makes. So ultimately, that's really as simple as it goes. And as far as the 2 segments, the question is really, do they take a piece of all of the different transactions that happen, or do they charge a subscription? It's really that simple. Now, on the subscription side, you could pay monthly, you could pay annually, you could sign a multi-year contract. And ultimately, what you get is you kind of get a click and go online store. It's really that simple. And if you have a brick and mortar business, so let's pretend you already have a store in your local town, well, you can integrate the Shopify system into the management of your own local business. And in theory, you could use that as kind of the back end for all of it, maybe to manage inventory, to collect payments, things like that. And in doing that, again, Shopify gets a fee for doing that whole thing, for giving you access to their templates, for trying to make it simple to set up the stores, for doing currency conversions and printing shipping labels. All of that can be done through the Shopify system. So it's actually a very large and very expansive product offering that they have. In fact, there's been studies done that of all of the platforms that help people set up quick and easily, set up a retail store, Shopify is one of the biggest ones out there. So according to this research company, they estimate that there's about 17 million online stores, excluding China, 17 million online stores, and about 4.5 million of them are set up through Shopify. So Shopify has a massive presence in this audience. And if we think about what they do from a business perspective, right? If you have an online store and you set up your Shopify store, and let's imagine it's going well and things are growing. Well, I would imagine that Shopify would be fairly sticky from a revenue perspective, because why would you, let's say, shut down your business and start a new one, or shut it down and build your own platform? Maybe if you got big enough, but I could imagine that many customers would be fairly sticky revenue, which would frankly kind of help explain how their revenue numbers have grown so impressively consistently over the past decade or so. Now, I would point out that over here in 2020, well, we can see that there was an 85% jump in revenue, which is obviously a massive jump in revenue. And I'm sure we all know why that happened. So I do want to acknowledge the fact that COVID certainly helped their underlying business. It forced a bunch of businesses online, and the world hasn't really shifted away from that since then. In most cases, if you went online and started your online store, let's say during COVID, when your brick and mortar business had to close down, well, there's probably not a lot of reasons to close that down afterwards. So again, although revenue hasn't increased as much as it did in the 2020 year, it has increased a decent amount year over year. Now, the same cannot be said from a net income perspective. In fact, when we look at their chart of net income, we can see it looks a little bit more volatile, although there are some explanations to this. Okay, so now this is real important how they set up their financials. So let's take a peek at 2021. In 2021, we can see there's a massive jump in net income. So the real question is, well, what happened in 2021 that was so unique? So in 2021, there were two companies that Shopify had a big stake in. There was a company called Affirm and a company that was called Global E. In 2021, both of those companies went public. Well, here's a chart for both of them. And you can see in 2021, when they went public, there was a big jump in their stock price. So what do they have to do? Well, they have to mark to market the value of those investments. In the case of 2021, the end of the year, what was the value? Well, now they had an actual value because they were publicly traded now. And we can see that there was a giant jump in profit because they got I believe it was a $2.87 billion markup from unrealized gains. What happened the following year? Well, jumping back over to the charts, for those of us who don't remember, in 2022 was a big pullback for the stock market. And what happens when you get a big pullback? Well, in this case, they have to mark to market from their last year's numbers. So last year, they were up fairly high. When we're looking at these charts, the following year, at the end of 2022, it was lower. There, they got almost a $3 billion write-down. So where 2021 showed a giant jump, 2022 showed a giant drop. Now, here's the interesting part about this, is that they still own the stakes in these companies, in both Affirm and Global E. Well, because of that, in the past couple of years, they've had those stocks we saw in the charts, those stocks have drifted higher over the past few years. So at the end of each year, they get to essentially tack on those unrealized gains to their profits in both 2023 and again in 2024. And obviously in the past 12 months, since part of that includes 2024, well, they've had about $1 billion a year in gains. So a lot of these gains that we've seen over the past couple of years are at least partially tied to unrealized gains from, again, Affinity, which I believe they own about 10% of, and Globally, which I believe last numbers I found were about 12.5%. So decent stakes. Now, I know what you're thinking. Well, that makes these numbers far more difficult to interpret. Well, to make that a bit simpler, I think it could be easier if we jump over to the cash flow statement and look at operating cash flow. Now, operating cash flow, as it says, as it's defined, is cash flow generated from the operations of the business. And clearly, those numbers look far more reliable and far more predictable. Okay, so clearly, this may be useful when we try to come up with the fair value for the stock using something like discounted free cash flow. It certainly helps to have more predictable operating cash flow. But before we jump in and look at the fair value of the stock using different valuation methods, well, one number that kind of jumped out at me when I was analyzing this company was their research and development. So compared to some of their competitors, well, this is the research and development costs for the most recent fiscal year for each of the companies. And we can see that outside of Square, which is in a lot of different businesses, and they do like credit card process and things like that. That's one of the big things. That's one of the things that Shopify does. But clearly, Square is doing a ton as far as research and development. But compared to most of the other competitors, compared to all the other competitors, well, Shopify is spending a decent amount of money on research and development. Now, I bring this up not because it has any explicit impact on things, other than it is an expense. But really, if you think about this business and the idea of, let's say, using AI going forward to try to, make their businesses more efficient, to try to maybe maximize the shop layout for their customers, maybe set up different marketing, things like that. Well, I could imagine that it's going to take a decent amount of money for them to stay on the cutting edge compared to their competitors. So with that in the back of our mind, I thought it was interesting when I started to look at different competitors. I thought it was interesting that they're spending a decent amount. They are They appear to be trying to stay ahead of the curve. And I think ultimately that is a positive sign for let's say, the moat or the competitive advantage of Shopify in general. Now, this is a snapshot of just the most recent fiscal year. But on the Investors Grow website, when we click on the chart for research and development, well, we can see that research and development has increased a decent amount. Now, again, in 2020, when COVID happened, and there was a massive push towards online stuff, where you can see Shopify in the years coming out of COVID, in the years coming out of 2020, Shopify really pushed hard to increase the money that they were spending to try to get competitive. Now, and try to, remain competitive and stay ahead of the curve. We already saw their chart compared to how many stores they have, online stores that they're a part of, compared to their competitors. So they're already doing very well, which might have partially explained why this number is kind of leveled off over the past few years. But again, I think that this, if nothing else, points to their future at least being somewhat bright. Now, one other thing that I wanted to bring up before we jump in and look at the fair value is another one, let's call it the shareholder-friendly side of their business, might be shares outstanding. And while many bigger companies, you look at any of the big tech companies out there, most of them are going to be buying back stock. I just wanted to point this out because this, to me, is a negative against them. One of the first negatives against them. They've done fairly good with their business, especially in the past 5 or so years. I'm very impressed by what they've done. But I just wanted to bring out shares outstanding has mostly increased. It's going up less year over year, but it has, in general, increased. Now, let's jump in and consider how we could value this company. So again, on the Investors Grow website, when we punch in a ticker, we land on the summary page. It will tell us what the best valuation methods are for the company that we're looking at. Basically, what it does is it takes the sector of the company, what sector is this company trading in, and then also, some underlying fundamentals. Are they profitable? Things like that. And depending on those numbers, well, we'll see these stars that are here that kind of indicate here's some valuation methods you might want to consider. Now, obviously, looking quickly at this summary page, it looks a bit overvalued, but let's dive in and look a little bit closer. So first, we jump over to the discounted free cash flow tab. And here, I've actually adjusted the numbers and I've extended beyond the baseline period, which in our case, if you saw the fair value before, that's using the free cash flow estimates that we have for any analysts. Well, I've extended beyond that. So you can see in this chart here, 4 free cash flow numbers. The green bars are analyst estimates. The blue bars are computer estimates. Well, with that, we get a fair value of $99 per share. That is a pretty far cry from where the stock is currently trading at $161 a share. So clearly, it's a bit overvalued right now. Okay, then when we jump in and look at the forward price to earnings. Now, in this case, forward price to earnings, the reason that the website will recommend forward price to earnings versus price to earnings is forward price to earnings, in theory, is a bit more forward-looking, and the website will recommend it if there's a decent amount of analyst estimates giving estimates for earnings per share. If there was only 1 or 2, would say, hey, try regular P. But in our case, we're going to jump in and look at forward P. So here's a chart of Shopify's forward price to earnings multiple on a quarterly basis going back to the year 2020. And as we can see here, first of all, 97x is extraordinarily high by any measure. But even when you compare it to their own historical average, I think a lot of times it helps to see if I want to buy this company. And frankly, I like Shopify. I like their business. I like the position that they're in. Is this where I want to buy it? Well, if we're going to pay 97x, essentially that means we're willing to pay $97 for $1 of next year's earnings. That's what the forward PE is telling us. The question is, well, why would we do that? So why would we pay $97 for $1 of next year's earnings when just a couple of years ago we could have paid $32 for $1 of next year's earnings? Or if we want to be even more patient, $23 for $1 of next year's earnings. So for me, as much as I like Shopify and Shopify's business, and I do like their business, I do think it is good, and this is a company I want to add to my watch list, But to me, it's just way too overpriced in the right now. Now, one other thing to keep in the back of our minds about this company is that this is going to be a very cyclical company, if we want to call it that, because they are very much reliant on the economy growing. The more companies the more shops that open up, the more people that buy products, the better this company is going to do. I love their position again, but if there is a broader economic pullback, this company is going to get hurt from it. So all the estimates in the world that we come up with for free cash flow or revenue, we have to consider, well, if there is a pullback, surely it will recover at some point, but that pullback and recover could slow things a little bit. So I think if anything else, that speaks only more to make sure, one, we use the right valuation method, and two, make sure we don't overpay. Again, Shopify's own history, we'd be overpaying by a decent amount right now. And I just don't see the reason to do it when we could just be a little more patient and wait for this one to pull back. Now, if you want to sign up to get access to the Investors Grow website, we have all these different tools for about 70,000 or so global companies. I will leave a link right here, link in the description below. And thank you so much for sticking with me all the way to the end of the video. I really do appreciate it. Thank you, and I'll see you in the next video.